Hey there, and welcome to the Event Crushed podcast. Each week, we'll be chatting about all things wedding industry, entrepreneurship, and how to crush it in life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Well, hey there, friends. Happy Friday, and welcome back to the Event Crushed podcast. I hope everyone's having a great week so far as we're heading into the weekend. Me and Andrew just got back from Portland. We did some anniversary photos for our 15-year anniversary that's coming up a little later this month. And we actually went back to our wedding venue, which was so fun. And we hadn't been there since our wedding day. So it was just really special getting to be back there and see it again and take photos with one of my favorite photographers. So it was a really great way to spend a day. So now we're back home and getting back into the swing of things. I have another wedding coming up this weekend in Bend that I'm very excited about. So that's what's going on over here. I hope that you hope that wedding season is going well so far for those of us who are in the thick of wedding season right now. And speaking of wedding season, today we're going to be talking about how we can set ourselves apart in a saturated market. I know that we all hear all the time about or we think it or feel it, that the wedding industry is just very saturated. There's, lots of photographers, lots of planners, lots of videographers. And depending on where you're located, I'm sure it feels different place to place. But I think that's just a general thing that a lot of us are feeling. And so I'm going to touch on what we can do about that. I don't know if you were on Clubhouse during the pandemic when it was very popular, but I was hooked. I loved Clubhouse and I spent a lot of time on there. I created a group for Pacific Northwest wedding professionals, and we would host weekly rooms for months, and we would just have different topics that we would chat about. And I would have myself and some moderators who would help me out, and we would just share tips and ideas and talk about all kinds of topics that were affecting us in the wedding industry, things related to the pandemic and how that was affecting our business and marketing and networking and all kinds of fun stuff. So for me, Clubhouse was kind of a precursor to me starting this podcast because that was, it's pretty much like live podcasting. And when my business coach, when we were talking about me possibly starting a podcast, she asked if I had my notes still from those Clubhouse days. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I do. So I was able to find these notes on my hard drive that are just pages and pages of topics and notes and ideas from those Clubhouse chats. And it's been really great to have that because some of the topics that we chatted about on Clubhouse back in 2021, 2022 are things that are definitely still affecting us today. Some perhaps even more so. I know that during the pandemic, a lot of people decided to start a business and take a leap and go for it because we were all stuck at home and we just had, time on our hands to think about starting a business and then to actually get it off the ground. So I do think there was a pretty big uptick in new wedding businesses that happened during the pandemic, which is amazing. It's so cool that people were able to use that time that was, as a whole, can definitely be seen as a negative time, but we're able to use it for good and start a business out of it. So definitely no negativity towards, new people coming into the industry. Of course, there's always going to be new people coming in and there's room for them. There's room for everybody. But because there was this uptick in wedding pros entering the wedding industry during that time, and I think another residual effect of the pandemic is less engagements, potentially. So this is just my own theory, but since there were more businesses entering the wedding industry in 2020, 2021, 2022, and then also potentially a decrease in engagements because people had been at home and not socializing and meeting each other, I think that now is affecting the amount of engagements that are happening. So potentially more wedding businesses, less couples getting engaged would lead to what I believe, again, just my theory, but part of the reason why a lot of wedding pros have experienced less inquiries or decreased bookings this year. I've talked to many, many wedding pros, and so many of them have experienced just a weird year. Less inquiries, less bookings, couples taking longer to make decisions, things like that. But that's just a theory that I had about why that could be. And so with all of that said, what are we to do? Are we supposed to just say, okay, darn, well, I guess I'm just screwed because there's so many wedding pros and there's not enough business to go around. And how am I going to stand out in this overly saturated market? Of course not. There's so much that we can do to set ourselves apart and to stand out, even if it seems like there's a million photographers in your city or your state. I promise you, there are many things that can be done to get yourself in front of those potential clients and to set yourself apart from everybody else. I also wanted to offer a word of encouragement before we dive in. I did a little bit of research on the number of weddings that happen in the US every year, and that number is insane. I don't know if you know this or not, maybe you do, but there are between 2 to 2.5 million weddings each year in the United States, which is bonkers. And so that's a lot, right? Like even just hearing that number, you're like, okay, there's enough business to go around. But this may put it into perspective even a little more for you. There are an estimated 100,000 to 120,000 wedding photographers in the United States based on data from SLR Lounge and Data USA. So there's way more weddings happening than there are photographers, like a lot more. Hopefully that will just put things into perspective for you a little bit. Same with wedding planners. That's even significantly less than the wedding photographers. There's estimated closer to 35,000 to 50,000 wedding planners and coordinators in the United States. And again, 2 to 2.5 million weddings happening. So there is obviously, we can only be at one place at a time in terms of the amount of weddings that we can serve. If we have a team, that's different. But if we're doing, 20 weddings a year and there's 2.5 million weddings happening, it just kind of puts things into perspective. So there's plenty of weddings. There will always be weddings. Weddings are never going to stop happening, thankfully. That's why I think the wedding industry is a great industry to be a part of, because people are going to keep getting married every single year, even though, yes, there will be down years. And there's also new couples coming in every year, getting engaged and getting married. So we constantly have new clients and potential clients that are finding us. And I just think that's really unique. It's different than other industries. So just a little brief appreciation for the wedding industry. But let's talk about some ways that we can stand out among a sea of wedding photographers or a sea of wedding planners or a sea of caterers. The number one thing I am going to say, and I'm going to list 4 things that we can do. So if you have a notebook and you want to write some things down, now would be a great time to grab that. So the first answer to this problem is to stop trying to blend in. I'm serious. Like, stop it. I think that this is the easiest trap that we can potentially fall into as a wedding pro, and it can be truly detrimental. When our couples, potential clients and couples are scrolling through Instagram feeds and scoping out websites of possible, wedding vendors that they're going to hire, they can really all start to look the same. and they can blur together. And, these couples are seeing the same photos, the same styles, the same colors. They're seeing similar pricing. The websites are all kind of looking the same. The Instagram feeds are all kind of looking the same. So why the heck would a couple choose you over somebody else if it's all just looking the same to them? Well, I really think the days of blending in with the crowd and, looking at other vendors' websites and kind of like copying what they're doing, I just think, and I hope that that's really a thing of the past, because in today's unique online environment, you need to be setting yourself apart, which is, of course, what we're talking about today. But I have 3 things that I think you should be basically infusing into your online presence. And we'll talk more about online presence in a little bit. But those 3 things, first of the 3 is your personality. So no matter what type of a wedding pro you are, it's important that our couples mesh well with us, because they're going to be, working with us, whether if it's a planner, you're working together all throughout the process. If it's the photographer, especially on the day of, you're like the main vendor that's with that couple all day. If it's the DJ, they really need to mesh well with the couple, because they're going to be the one leading the events of the evening and being kind of the voice of the wedding. So whatever type of vendor it is, it's super important that the couple and you mesh together. So our personality needs to be clear and apparent through our online presence. If you're like a super high energy person and just like super fun, super high energy, that should come across. You wouldn't want to appear online as if you're like super calm and professional. And then when they meet you in person and you're super high energy, it would be like, oh, like that's not what I was expecting. So however you are in real life, whatever your personality is, it's a part of why the couple is going to book you. And so why wouldn't we make that super apparent in our online presence? We are naturally going to attract the people that are, meant to work with us. And then it'll just happen naturally. You'll repel the people that are not a good fit for us. And that's okay. I feel like I used to have a hard time with the idea of attract and repel, because I was just like, I don't want to repel anyone. Like, I want everyone to like me. And I'm just, such a people pleaser. It has taken me time to be okay with repelling the people that are not for me, not meant to be my clients. And that's totally okay, because we, again, can only take so many weddings in a week or a month or a year. And if I'm not a good fit for them, then there's another amazing planner out there that is going to be the perfect fit for them. So anyways, just the importance of infusing your personality into your online presence, your website, your social media, all of that good stuff, your, profiles that couples might be finding you on. So that's one of the 3. The second one is infusing your style. I really think the goal is for couples and clients and vendors to see a photo. Maybe they're scrolling Instagram and they see a photo and they just immediately go, oh, that's an Event Crush wedding. Or, oh, that is clearly a branch and bramble flower arrangement. Or that photo was obviously taken by Ashley Cook. Before they even see the caption or see who posted it, they can just tell from the photo whose work it is. It doesn't mean that your weddings are all going to look the exact same, of course, but it means there's consistency in style that flows through all of your work, which is huge. And this, of course, takes time. But with this consistency, it'll help you build an incredible portfolio. And then the third thing that you want to infuse into your online presence is your unique offerings. And we'll touch on this a bit more towards the end. But from a potential client's perspective, everyone is offering the same services. So if they're looking at photographers, and they click their services page or offerings, they're seeing, okay, there's a 8-hour collection and a 10-hour collection. And, there's bullet points of what's included. And they're all kind of, maybe they're comparing, but they're all kind of similar. And if you're a planner, they're seeing a lot of, okay, they have full service wedding planning. They have wedding management. Maybe they have partial planning. So they're seeing these same offerings and services over and over again. But why would somebody choose your services over someone else's if they're all kind of looking the same? And hopefully it is not the price. I don't know about you, but I never want someone to choose me because I was the most affordable option. Like, I don't want that. Maybe at one point in my business early on, I would have been super fine with it because I wanted business and I wanted to get clients. And that's obviously where everyone is at in the beginning. But once you've established your business, I just don't think that should be a goal that couples are booking us because we were the affordable option or we were the cheaper option. Like, I just do not want that. We want our clients to be booking us because they see the value in what we have to offer. And it's not just about the price for them. They maybe were more expensive than somebody else, but they're okay with paying that price point because they can see the value in what we offer and what we bring to the table. And they like our personality and they like our style. And so it all just melds together into this perfect fit for them. And so offering unique services that aren't cookie cutter and aren't the same thing that everyone else is offering is going to set you apart. And so on your website copy and whenever you're sharing your services, don't just describe the services you'll be providing with like bullet points. Okay, it's 10 hours of wedding day coordination. It's rehearsal day or ceremony rehearsal coordination. It's, vendor management, this and that. Like, that's all fine and good, but couples don't really know what they need for one. But more so, you want to really explain to the couples and potential clients how they'll be better off with your services and what problems you're going to solve for them and how basically their life is going to be better by hiring you. So being able to market your unique services in that way is going to be so helpful in finding those right clients and making the value really clear to them of why they should hire you over somebody else. Okay, so those were kind of 3 bullet points under the first point, which is stop blending in. The goal is not to blend in. The goal is to set yourself apart. Now we're going to move on to point number 2. And this is to keep it consistent and show up online regularly. So the more of an online presence you have, the easier it will be for people to find you online. Sounds super obvious. And I know it's very simple, but I think people like to overcomplicate things. And so I just like to spell things out really simply. Because the truth is, if you show up consistently online, it will lead to you being found more easily by potential clients. This can look different for everyone, and I'll share some ways you can show up that aren't just, I'm not just talking Instagram here. There are a lot of different ways you can show up online, and so we'll talk more about that in just a minute. If you don't post anything online for weeks or months at a time, unfortunately, it may cause potential clients to not reach out to you because they may think you're not currently active in your business. They may think that you don't take your business seriously, which maybe sounds, like kind of ridiculous, but I think that is a real thought that people have. Like, I think we've all, looked at something online, and if their social media was from like months ago, we very well may have thought, oh, are they still in business? Like, are they still around? What's going on? Why haven't they posted in so long? I know I've had that thought many times. So if I have, I'm sure that potential clients who are looking to hire us and spend, potentially thousands of dollars on our services, they are going to have those same thoughts. So some other ways to show up online that are just kind of making your presence known. So if somebody goes to Google and types in your business name, different things are going to come up. There's going to be your website. Hopefully you have a blog. There's going to be, if you have listings on any of the wedding kind of marketplace accounts like Wedding Wire, The Knot, Zola, Party Slate. Some of them have free accounts. So if there are free accounts, I highly recommend creating one. I have additional thoughts on the paid membership situation, but if it's free, like, I absolutely think you should have one because it's just one more place that couples can find you. And couples are using those sites. They're using them to read reviews. So maybe they don't find you initially on the site, but they are going there and they're reading reviews. And you can even, I mean, I've gotten bookings, even though I just have free listings now. Clients can still find you on there and book you without paying for the membership. So although I do think some of them, maybe they don't offer the free listings anymore. It might have been like grandfathered in. So anyways, but I know Zola and Party Slate, I believe, both do free listings. And so if you're not on those sites, I highly recommend. But let's just go down my list of kind of ways to keep your online presence, consistent. So there's, you could do one of these things each week, or you can kind of rotate, it's just so that couples see that you're active and that your business is going and that you are, I hate to say it because we're not content creators, but that we are creating content and putting our work out there to share with the world. So blog posts are a big one. Hopefully you have a blog on your website and hopefully you're posting to it when you can. For me right now, that's like 1 to 2 times a month, but that is a significant increase from the months and months I went without posting on my blog at all. And every time you post on your blog, that can boost your SEO. Every time you update your website, that is super good for your SEO. So don't sleep on blog posts. It's a great way to showcase your work. And then when you post a blog, you can reuse that content elsewhere. So every time I do a blog post, I then share it on Instagram. And so it's not just a blog, it's a blog post, an Instagram post. And then I also share it in my newsletter. I have a section that's, read the latest blog. And so I always highlight the most recent blog post there. So there's a lot of ways that you can share a blog beyond just on your website. So hopefully you're pushing it out in different outlets. You can share it on Facebook, all kinds of good stuff. But I think that's one of the main ways to show that you're active because for sure, potential clients are going to land on your website one way or another, whether they find you on Instagram or they find you on Wedding Wire or it's a referral. Like they're still going to look up your website and they're going to check you out. And if they go to your blog and the last blog post was from like a year ago, it's not a great look. And so again, it can be once a month. I think that's like bare minimum in my opinion. It can be as often as you're able. Photographers have so much more content to put out there. So if you're a photographer, I think you should be blogging as much as you can because the more work you can showcase of yours and recent work at that, the better. Yeah, I'm super behind on blogging, but I'm working on it and my VA is helping me. So we're getting it done. Okay, so that's one option for working on your online presence. Another one I mentioned before, wedding sites like The Knot, Zola, Wedding Wire, Party Slate, etc. You can, if you have a listing, a free listing or a paid listing, of course, you can add galleries. So you can upload weddings onto there. You can add images. You can, whatever kind of content you can create within those sites is great because then if couples find you on there and they see that you've recently added a wedding or posted, they will be more likely to reach out because they'll be like, oh, they're active. They're doing stuff. I think it's just really appealing for couples when they know that like we're actively working on our businesses. We're actively promoting and marketing our businesses. I don't think couples like it when businesses aren't super active on social or on online, especially Gen Z. I think they really like to see wedding vendors showing up. So as much as it can be a headache and as much as it can feel like something that we just have to do or whatever, there's a way to make it fun and to get it done where it doesn't feel like a headache. So, and I'll probably do some kind of episode on that in the future. Okay, so we've talked about blog posts. We've talked about updating galleries and whatnot on the different wedding listing sites. Here's a fun one, responding to reviews. So on Google or WeddingWire, I think anywhere that accepts reviews, you should be able to respond. I think it's a super great way to, one, like make your clients feel appreciated because you took the time to respond to their hopefully glowing, amazing review of your business. And two, potential clients see those and I'm pretty sure would have the date next to it so they can see, oh, this person just responded to this review. So again, it's just a way to show that you're active online. Okay, here's another one. I've got a few more and then we'll move on to tip number 3. But Pinterest. So maybe you just, recorded a blog and you are going to now add those photos into Pinterest. Awesome. That's easy. That's great. Or maybe you have your VA do that for you. You can create boards on Pinterest for wedding inspiration. I used to be very active on Pinterest because I had a wedding blog in the past before I started Event Crush. And I'm not as much these days, but I am working on it. I'm working with my VA to kind of get a better plan in place for Pinterest, and exciting news, but I'm going to be having a Pinterest expert on the show a little later this month to talk about what we can be doing to just have a presence on Pinterest and how we can get found on Pinterest and all kinds of really great ideas for us wedding pros and how we can utilize Pinterest in our businesses. Because I know a lot of us are not using it to its full potential. So I'm excited for that interview and to share that with you all. Okay, the next one is Threads. I'm having so much fun on Threads right now. I don't know. I know a lot of people aren't on Threads, and a lot of people are, but it's a really fun community. And I've kind of been able to now, since I've been using it for a little while, I've been able to tailor it. So I'm like seeing content that I want to see and, wedding related, wedding pro content and funny content, all kinds of good stuff. But it's nice because, when you like things or don't like things, you can kind of tailor it to see what you want to see. So anyways, that's kind of an aside, but Threads is another place to just make your presence known online. I've gotten some cool connections in the podcasting world that I've made on there. So anyways, I know it's another social media site. And if you're not on it, don't feel like you need to rush and go get it. But if you are already on it, there's definitely potential there for connection with couples or I see so many posts all the time of couples going, oh my gosh, I just got engaged. And, they are probably not in my local market, but who knows? I've definitely heard of couples finding their vendors on Threads. Some will post, looking for kind of like an ISO post, looking for a wedding photographer in Alaska or whatever. So there's certainly potential there to be finding clients, but also vendor relationships and connections, which we all know how I feel about that. So if you are into video, YouTube is a great channel to be on and just putting out content. If you are somebody who enjoys doing videos and sharing maybe educational content for couples about wedding planning or whatever your service offering is. So that's a great place to be, keeping updated. And because maybe you're not on Instagram, but maybe if somebody goes to your Instagram profile and you have your YouTube channel linked, then they would click that and go, oh, there's all this great new content here on YouTube. This is really where this person is hanging out. And then the last ones are just, the old standbys, Instagram and Facebook. So obviously, I think Instagram's great because it's so easy with stories to just be posting regularly, just little bits of your life and just showing couples that, we are people with lives outside of just weddings. Obviously, I share about all the weddings that I do and behind the scenes of work life, but then it's also fun to share behind the scenes of, being a mom and a wife and our garden. I love sharing our garden and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of ways that we can stay top of mind and that we can just have more of a consistent online presence that doesn't just have to be Instagram. Again, it can be blog posts, it can be Pinterest, it can be So many things. So take with that what you will. Do not feel like you need to do all of those. The idea is more to find maybe a couple channels where you can post regularly, and whatever works for you is what you should do. Okay, so we're on to number 3. We're halfway through and the clock is ticking. I always am so surprised that I can talk for so long by myself. I guess that's good. I mean, I have a lot to say, clearly, but it's just every time it surprises me. So, all right, so we're halfway. These next 2, I think, will be shorter because the first 2 I had like sub bullet points with them, and these don't have as much of that. So let's see. Okay, this is a huge one. This is something I see a lot of wedding pros not taking full advantage of. And there is so much potential and so much you can do with this. And it's fun, I think. So, okay, so this is providing value before the client books you. What does that mean? That looks like sharing free educational tips, advice, ideas with your online community. So that can be Instagram, that can be Facebook, that can be your blog, that can be Pinterest, that can be Threads, that can be YouTube. It can be literally any of the channels that you have decided that you enjoy being on. And instead of just, obviously we don't want to just be salesy and pushing our business and our services. All of our posts shouldn't be, look at this beautiful photo that I took, now booking for 2025, because that's not appealing, quite frankly. I mean, maybe the photo is beautiful, but that alone isn't going to get somebody to hire you as their wedding photographer. So instead, what we want to do is we want to create value for potential clients. And we will build that know, like, and trust factor that we've all heard so much about. And then when it's time for them to book their photographer or their planner or their florist, they're going to think of you first because they have been following you and they've been receiving all of this amazing educational content that you've been sharing over however many months or more, or, could be a year. Who knows? But you're going to be the one that comes to mind because they're going to just remember that you gave to them freely. And I just think that that is so memorable for people. And there's so many different ways that we can do that. So it can, like I said, it can be blog posts where you're sharing, your top tips for a destination wedding planning, or it can be, the 5 things that you need to know or that you need to start doing right after you get engaged, or how to change your last name, because I know that can be a headache for people. So tips on changing your last name. If you're a photographer, it can be outfit ideas for engagement photos or tips for getting your engagement photos taken. There are so many things you can do. So it can be a whole blog post. It can be a very simple Instagram post. Something that I do is just a little graphic that I create in Canva. So we know that I love Canva. And it just has a little wedding planning tip in there and is usually pretty short. And it's like a sentence and then or maybe a couple sentences. And then I expand on it in the caption and I share a few paragraphs about it. And it's just helpful for couples who are, in the throes of wedding planning. And again, they're going to, take that and appreciate the great advice. But then later when they're ready to book a vendor, because you have people right now that are following you that are not yet engaged, but they're still following your content and they're still seeing everything you're doing. But eventually they may become engaged. And again, they're going to think of you first. So if you can become someone that your audience can trust by regularly providing value, then you are just going to set yourself up for success. So I think that every wedding pro should be doing this. And I think it's just a missed opportunity because I think a lot of us are just focused on selling, getting our work out in front of people and then selling. But that's not, in my opinion, the way to go about it. We need to be building trust and we need to be sharing value. This can also be like, for example, with my newsletter, I have a free download that's like the seven biggest mistakes I see couples making in their wedding planning journey and how to avoid them. So any couple that goes on my website and enters their email address, they will immediately be sent that download. And I've had people respond to that email and schedule a consult with me. So it can be email, it can be blog, it can be Instagram, it can be Facebook, wherever you can share value. YouTube, like I mentioned, if you're somebody who likes video, if you're a videographer, if you're a DJ, maybe you can be making videos, helpful videos for couples. They can be quick, they can be short. They don't need to be this crazy long production. So, okay, that was number 3, providing value before booking. That's going to set you apart because, like I said, not everybody's doing that. There's so much potential there that you can do. You can be the go-to resource in your area, and couples will just trust you. Vendors will trust you. Yeah, there's a lot more to be said about that. Maybe we'll have to I might do another whole episode on that topic. I like that. Okay, this is number 4. This is the last one, and then we'll be wrapping up. So this is another word that I've struggled to say throughout my life, but we're going to get it right on this episode. So, niching down. I think a lot of us have this misconceived notion that we should market to just a general audience of engaged couples. However, that can hurt you more than help you. Partly because that's what so many others are already doing, and you're not setting yourself apart. Back to the point about my first point about not blending in, and because your messages aren't going to end up reaching the right potential clients. If you're just like throwing spaghetti at a wall and trying to reach every engaged couple, you're not actually going to reach the people that you want to be reaching. So there's different ways that you can do this. You can niche down in who you are serving, or you can niche down in the level of service that you're going to offer. So I'll just give some examples of how somebody might go about this. So instead of just marketing your business to any old engaged couple, hopefully, depending on how long you've been in business, maybe you're newer and you haven't really had the time yet to find your niche. But if you've been in business for a little while, you will start to realize the types of weddings that you like to do, the types of couples that you enjoy working with. So it just takes a little bit of time, but you will begin to kind of hone in on that niche market. So here's a few examples. A photographer could decide that they don't want to offer, okay, I have like a 6-hour package, an 8-hour package, and a 10-hour package, because they've seen over time that the smaller offering is never enough and they miss things. And so they decided they only want to offer like the 10-hour collection because they'll be there the whole day. They'll capture all the details. They won't feel rushed, which is bound to happen if it's only a 6-hour package. So if they decided I'm only going to offer this one level of service, it's like full day wedding coverage, they could market it that way as I only offer full day wedding coverage because we will be there the whole day. We will capture all of the details. Nothing will get missed. And that's like a selling point. There's people that would really want that. And you wouldn't need to go through the process of like explaining your different offerings because you would already know, or they would already know that that is what they want and that you're a great fit for them because that's what you specialize in. So that's one example of niching down in terms of like the services that you offer. Another example that we see a lot is photographers who maybe they started out as more general wedding photographers and then they niche down into elopement photography or adventure elopement photography. And they really specialize in like these small elopements that may be on top of a mountain or, hiking out into the woods. And that's there's a very specific target market that wants that kind of a wedding, an intimate wedding with just, a handful of people, or maybe it's just the couple and the officiant, but they're in this epic setting and they want a photographer that like can hike up a mountain with them. Not everybody is a fit for that. So that's another way to niche down in terms of who you're serving and in your services as well. Other options that someone could specialize in would be, destination weddings. I am a destination wedding planner, and I work with couples who are coming to Oregon from out of state, and they need somebody local to Oregon who can help them bring in all of the details and who knows the local vendors. You could also specialize in Indian weddings or any kind of religious or cultural tradition that you have a strong knowledge in and base in. You can specialize in that, and you can market to those couples specifically. And you could focus on just outdoor weddings. We have a lot of outdoor weddings here in Oregon, or wedding venues here in Oregon. And so specializing in that specifically and marketing to couples who are having an outdoor wedding in your location. So the point is to define your niche and then make it clear across your website and your social channels. And then you can speak to that client who's looking for that specific service. Okay, well, those were my 4 points. And I just wanted to leave you with this. At the end of the day, we are in control of how we're marketing our businesses and how we're getting ourselves in front of potential clients. Especially in recent weeks, I've been hearing a lot of complaints about the algorithm, as if, that's the reason why people aren't getting bookings or aren't getting inquiries, is because the algorithm just isn't showing their work or isn't pushing their content. And I'm sure that the algorithm is not always super helpful to people. And I've seen it change over time. And, there's times where I feel like a lot of people are seeing my stuff and times where I feel like they're not. It's been, for me, like just up and down over the years. And I kind of just don't have any expectations at this point. I'm just going to keep doing my thing and put my work out there, and we'll see what happens with it. But the point is to not put all of our eggs in one basket. If you're only using Instagram to market your business, that is very problematic, because you're at the whim of Instagram. If their algorithm goes crazy and people aren't seeing your stuff anymore, well, there goes your business. I just think we cannot put all of our stock in a social media site, and it is way more important to build up your website, to have good SEO, to build up your blog. Like, if you really want to focus on growing your business, those are areas that I would suggest really investing in, because I get inquiries from Instagram, but my main ones come from Google and then also referrals, word of mouth. But a very large portion of my inquiries come from Google. And that's because early on in my business, I was able to really prioritize SEO. And I'm very thankful for that. There were also a lot less wedding planners at that time. But again, there are a lot of different ways that couples can find us. Yes, Instagram is one of them. There's been talk of Instagram doing basically a pay to play, where you pay monthly for your Instagram account. They change things all the time. And so the moral of the story is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Utilize different channels. Focus on your website, SEO, email newsletter, I think is extremely helpful. I want to have somebody on my show to talk about email newsletters, because I'm not an expert. I have an email newsletter. I enjoy doing it, but it's a small newsletter, and I want to have an expert on to talk about that, because I think that's another thing that wedding pros do not take advantage of enough, is a newsletter. So there's a lot more to be said about all of this, but I'm going to wrap it up, because this is a longer episode than I anticipated. So thank you for tuning in today. If you have found any value in any of these episodes so far, please consider leaving a rating or review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. It just, like I've said before, it means the world to me. And it also is very helpful for hopefully getting new eyes on my little podcast here. This has been a super fun journey so far. I'm learning so much all the time about the whole world of podcasting. Like I didn't know what I was doing when I started this. I just jumped into it, and that's just how I live my life, and I've come to accept it. But it's very much a learn as I go situation. But I'm loving it. I'm having so much fun, and I have some really fabulous interviews scheduled that I cannot wait for you all to hear. So have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back here next week.